Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pros Talk. I'm joined with our first returnee.
Yay.
Yeah, it's kind of fitting. You're pretty much the first in all business decisions that I do and everything else. So that's cool. But Tina Murray with Dominion Lending is here. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's we put out the call to, I was surprised. We put out the call to say, hey, season 2, who wants to come back and finish conversations? And I think we got 8 right away.
That's
and we only did 13 or 15 episodes last year.
Okay, yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So we're working them in.
Yeah.
And it's nice because I know you, Willie, and then Theo needed a part 2.
Yeah, well, hey.
I think we always say, we can talk forever.
Yes.
But that's our time.
Yeah, because how long have we talked already before? What time is it?
It took
about
16 minutes to get fired up.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad you're back.
Thanks.
I mean, I always love chatting with you. So, we kind of covered, I think, before the basics of what people should and shouldn't do. One of the things that I want to do, because it's happening right now in my life, renovation.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, we've saved for this. Not everyone has that opportunity, especially during the pandemic. But is there avenues of people looking to renovate, like to get equity and pull equity out?
Yes.
Give us a little breakdown on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time. A lot of people are looking at their houses, right? And they're going, this just doesn't meet our needs anymore. And so what can we do? So then they start looking at what they owe, what it's worth. And then they start looking at other houses and go, oh, okay, wait a minute. I can't afford those other houses now. The market is just outpriced itself
Yeah, and
for
that's
a lot of people, right?
That's why I bring it up, because
Right.
the situation we're seeing, which was supposed to be pretty much done last year,
Right.
is not done.
Yeah.
We're now seeing, in my world, lumber prices are climbing again. Right? We
yes.
just saw the balance. Everyone put projects off to the spring.
Yeah.
That's down. Real estate, I think, has stayed on fire.
And it has.
Ridiculously overpriced.
Yes.
So now people turn to what they own.
Right. So now is a good time, because if you look at your house and what it was worth when you bought it, what it was worth 2 years ago, what it's now worth, generally speaking, a lot of people have a lot of equity in their homes, right?
So sorry, I have to ask that question. So, because we just went through it, we have a mortgage.
Yep.
We got a call from our insurance agent.
Right.
And we had to get reassessed because we didn't have insurable value of what it's worth today. If it burnt down, I couldn't rebuild.
That's right. It's what it's actually worth versus what it's being appraised at.
I don't know if it's actually worth.
Completely different things, right?
Yeah.
So I look at people in Toronto and I
Current
look
state
at
of
my
affairs
sister,
worth.
right? She lives in Mississauga. She's on the border of Mississauga and Oakville. Turn right, go south, turn right, and you're in Oakville.
Yeah.
Left, you're in Mississauga. So she's got a 70s home, a standard, cookie cutter kind of house type thing. And it's worth $1 million easy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in Brockville, it would be worth, well,
400,000.
400,000, right? Yeah, maybe
Today's
today's value maybe 500,000,
Yeah.
but it's not worth $1 million. It's what people will pay for it.
Right.
So this is a good time, though. If you're looking at your current situation, you're like, okay, well, you're doing some renovations in your own home, right? Because you want to expand and just do things differently, make it more user friendly for you and what your needs are currently,
Or not to be stir crazy.
Or that's you, Dave. So what a lot of people are doing, and this is wonderful because a lot of people are looking at the equity they have in their house. So basically, equity is the difference between what it's valued at and what you have a mortgage on it.
Right.
So your house is now valued at $500,000. You have a $200,000 mortgage. You have $300,000 of equity, right? You could do a lot of stuff with that money, even with the value of...
Natasha, turn off your camera. Stop listening. We
Yes.
don't have 300,000.
But what I'm saying is you can go up to 80% of the value of that. So in this case, if you're looking at
So that's the
500,
bench. I just want to make sure everyone's hearing it. So the bench on that cost plus or that value plus is about 80% of loanability.
loan to value.
Yeah,
So
okay.
how much of the value of your house can you get a loan for?
Right.
And depending on whether you qualify, right? All of these things are based on qualification. You can go up to 80%. So in this scenario, if we're talking these numbers, you can go up to $400,000.
Wow.
Well, if you owe $200,000, there's $200,000 of money that you can pull out of
Yeah, because you have to subtract what you already owe out of that value.
Correct,
They're going to look
correct.
at the overall project,
Right.
home,
Actually,
and then
yeah.
less your mortgage of 80%.
Right. So good comment where you said about the project,
Yeah.
because I'm not looking at the improved value.
No.
In this scenario, I'm not looking at the
Existing.
improved value. I'm only looking at the current value. So
Because that's the current liability. That's the current.
What's the fair market
That's
value?
the current asset.
Right?
Right.
So an appraiser's going to come in, and an appraiser's going to say, yes, you bought the house 3 years ago for $250,000 or whatever.
Now it's worth
it is.
$1 million.
Now it's worth $500,000, right? Is it really worth $500,000? No, but what is the fair market value? What are people paying for those houses in today's market?
Yeah.
So it's a really good time to pull money out of it. Yeah. And at some point in time, I think it was a little bit scary in the beginning, because I thought a lot of people's houses, they're pulling all this equity out of it. If they have to sell 5 years down the road, are they going to be able to sell it for the $500,000? Because they owe $400,000 now, right?
That's one of the benchmarks that I don't think people are paying attention to. And you and I are special because we're in that industry. But
Yes.
last year, a lot of deals weren't closing. There was offers. But and like accepted offers, but they
Yes.
weren't closing either because of finance for the person.
Right.
Like they were going in no condition.
Right. Now, I was fortunate enough that most of my clients, well, I don't know any that didn't close because
good.
of that issue. The key was, sometimes if the appraised value, sometimes they would get appraised. And if the appraised value came in less, that could be problematic.
Yeah.
But I always address that with all my clients. And I will never, ever, ever, ever in a million years advise a client to go in with no conditions, ever. Because there's so many steps, and we may have talked about it on our last podcast, but there's so many things involved with an offer. And
It's
I know
due diligence.
well, and this is not disparaging against realtors, because they have their business to do. But the problem you put yourself into if you put in zero conditions is that because there are more than one step, right?
Yeah.
If you're going in a high ratio, so you're borrowing more than 80% of the value. So in this case, $500,000 purchase price, if you're borrowing more than $400,000 in that purchase, it's now a high ratio mortgage. So the approval process goes like this. I do all my stuff, right? Which I will have done prior to you even putting an offer in. I can get you a pre-approval, but I think I've told you this before. A pre-approval is as good as the piece of paper it's written.
Yeah, it's just a quick check.
I wish I had a piece of paper I could tear in half. Yeah. That's how good a pre-approval is.
We'll edit that noise in. That.
Yeah. So a pre-approval, the lender, if I send your application in,
Keep going.
to an actual lender for a pre-approval, all they're looking at is you, client Dave Annable. They're not looking at the house. Okay, so once we go to the point of an approval where you have a house, so I send it in now with the property. So they look at you and they go, yep, we like you, Dave Annable, we'll approve you.
Yes.
And then they look at the house and they go, yep, we like the house. We think you haven't overpaid for it. We approve the house. The next process is it now goes to the insurer. Anytime you put less than 20% down, it has to go to the high ratio insurer. In Canada, there are 3. A lot of people know it as CMHC.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's 3, so I had 3 in my head. So CMHC, right? So it goes to CMHC. CMHC looks at it, or the insurer looks at it and says, okay, I like you, Dave Annable. I don't know about the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go, okay, we're okay with the house, but we want to make sure it's valued at what it's valued at. If any of those steps come back no, you're done.
Yeah.
I can't go to another insurer. Generally speaking, that lender, if the one
Those
insurer,
3 big dogs are the big dogs.
right? So if that one insurer says no and comes back to that lender and says no for these reasons, that lender's not. Generally speaking, sometimes they will. Generally speaking, that lender's not going to go, okay, we'll try this insurer.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try this insurer. It could be a dead stop. If you've gone in with 0 conditions, now what do? Now you got to pony up with 20% down in order to avoid the insurer. And you have to have an appraisal. Anytime you put 20% down, you need an appraisal. So that is why I I will always say, and I haven't even necessarily verified one document yet. If one document is not satisfactory to the lender, it could again throw it all off. So there's risk. Now, some clients, A clients, super credit, long tenure employment, low debt. If everything is like absolutely in the box, no problem.
Right.
I may tell them it's still a risk. They're buying a brand new build or a pretty new build in a subdivision, in a city, in a town, not on well, not on septic. Yeah, you know what? It's probably a pretty good calculated risk. It's still a risk.
Yeah.
At any point in time, a lender or insurer could say no. And that's why I will never advise a client. And a lot of people get a lot of pressure from, their realtor, and I get it. The realtor
I would say
wants
from spouse, realtor.
Yes.
Maybe they know the people they're buying from or have made a connection on their couple showings. There are external pressures.
And the desire, right?
Yeah.
Because they've been turned down 5 times already.
Yeah.
They just can't go in with a condition. And I get it. I truly, truly get it. I feel very bad for people. So,
But they won't respect that if all goes to hell.
right, it's my fault.
And yes, if that insurer is not checked, those tides turn pretty quick.
Right.
And
You
it's been
see?
like, but as a small business owner, that then crushes you because now word of mouth, she went and got us, we had to pony up 20%. We're
Right.
not insured.
Right.
The deal's going to fall through. We made
Yeah.
an offer with no conditions.
Right. And you
it's
think-
Tina's fault.
Yeah, and
no,
you
it's
think
not.
They lose sleep.
Yeah.
You see how gray I am? And I like to use that a lot because, I think
You do.
it's
I've noticed it
genetic.
more. Yeah.
It's totally genetic, but I like to say it's because of the stress I'm under.
That's funny.
So, yeah, back to the pulling equity
Yeah.
out of the house. So, it can make a lot of difference, right? Like you can take walls out, you can, maybe even put additions. Like I have clients that are putting additions on their house just to make it more what they need, right? And again, pulling the equity out based on what the value is now. There are options to be able to do a construction sort of refinance construction mortgage. A little more complicated if you're going beyond what equity you currently have in the house.
Right.
Because then it becomes a construction mortgage,
Yeah.
right? And then that's a whole new setup.
Yeah, that's what we covered the first round, I think. And that is so, but I mean, just to touch on what you just said. So I'm in the industry. I because I'm so busy, I'm old, just yesterday doing demolition, I'm sore.
Yes, and just as an FYI, I saw something fly out your front window when I was driving by, and I thought, what?
Well, we're taking drywall down, which if anyone has never built or renovated, drywall is the mother of all hell.
Right.
It goes everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was working, and Natasha, I don't know, I think she just woke up. She's like, "Are we going to start this renovation?" And I was like, "God, like, just help me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right." So we took a look at it. So she went to get changed, I think, in the demo clothes, and I just took a hammer.
Started hammering.
Yeah.
I
So
would have loved to have been there. I needed that.
we had a lot of
yesterday.
people that said that they needed some de-stressor. Can we come over and play? And we were like, "No, this is us."
Yeah.
But I'm a big guy. I'm pulling full sheets of drywall in one piece off
Right.
the wall.
Okay.
Like, it's just screws. You pop it, it comes off. If
Yeah.
you do it right.
Yeah.
And that, we're talking about this. My house was set up. I'm an architect. I designed the house for
Yeah.
this renovation,
Yeah.
so it was simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just started doing it. And where I'm going with it is pulling equity is a big decision. It shouldn't, just because you have $400,000 or $200,000, you should really evaluate it. So we priced this to hire a builder and just deal with it
Okay.
in 3 phases, I think. So we could move we have to live there. Not camping right now.
Really?
No. I'll
okay.
camp in a few months, but not right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Minus 22 tonight?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we priced it. Then I was like, okay, now what's the sweat equity value of us throwing drywall out the front window? Which, for the record, she started carrying drywall through the house, out the front door. And I'm like, pop the screen.
Yeah.
And then I saw your car come through.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to get a text message soon.
I didn't say anything.
You commented a little later. But yeah, I was like, there's Nat throwing 2x4s.
It was funny. I literally, because where Dave lives is on the corner of my road. Yeah. And so I'm coming around the corner. And as I'm coming around the corner, I was positive I saw something coming out. And so I was looking to see if there was somebody at the window. And then I noticed that the window was open and there was no screen on it. And I'm thinking,
it was our garbage
somebody just threw something out the window. And it was like much later that I saw that.
She was trucking it all the way through. And I'm like, come, like smarter, not harder, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, pop the screen off and let's just chuck it outside. I'll clean it up in the spring.
Yeah.
So anyway. We looked at all that. There's obviously value add with certain professionals and stuff, but I think it was when we were in Edmonton. So August, we started talking about this, and I was like, okay, we'll throw X number of dollars every month into kind of the pot, and that's our reno fund.
Yeah.
And so people have to be aware of that aspect of it as we talk about, some people watch a podcast and I'm always fearful they like that house broke scenario almost because they'll be like, oh, honey, Tina Murray and Dave Annable say we could get 200,000 because our house is currently valued as high as it is. Well, in 2 years, is your house going to be valued that high? Maybe.
In honesty, I don't see prices coming down.
I don't either.
They may not keep going up.
Yeah.
They'll stabilize that way, but I don't see them coming down.
Yeah, we saw building prices. I think we touched on it last time, but just where we're at today.
Yeah.
Here we are almost a year later doing a podcast again.
And still in a pandemic.
It's still no. It's part of it. But so at a peak, housing was brand new housing, turnkey housing was around 425, 450.
I think it's come down a bit.
It has come down a lot.
Yeah.
It's down to 350.
300
to 350.
Yeah,
Depending.
exactly.
And most people, so that's the problem, is most people are building bigger, right? So the numbers are higher. It's inflated. We have preference. We know we have options.
Yeah.
Whereas 20 years ago, people didn't know you had options.
Right.
It was hardwood or carpet.
Yeah.
Well, now there's
20 different options.
Terrazzo and so travertine. But so 425, 450 was the high. We're now 325, 350.
Yeah.
But now it's climbing.
It is coming back up.
It's coming back up.
Yeah.
And I think this time, truthfully, is fear coming back up.
Yeah,
it's coming up because we're in another lockdown that was never going to happen again.
Yeah.
We're staring down a dark winter again.
Yeah.
What's going to be spring? Nobody knows. So, but you're right. I think when I built it was like $70 a square foot. 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But that 350 probably new norm.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, 400. No, bigger cities, probably Toronto and Ottawa, not here. So the value of the homes though, like ours got appraised at 4 times what we built for. 4 times.
Wow.
Does that mean I can go pull 80% of that?
Yeah.
I'm not stupid.
No.
That's house broke.
And that's the thing, right? And I always talk to people about, especially first-time home buyers. What do you want to pay in your mortgage payment? I can tell you how much you can afford according to the rules.
Yeah.
But what do you want to pay in your mortgage? Like, and for a lot of first-time home buyers that maybe are living at home, I'll say, okay, this is what you can afford. This is how much it's going to be on a monthly basis. Mortgage payment, property taxes, heating costs, insurance. Save that money for 3 months.
Yeah.
If you can save that money for 3 months and still live the life you want to live, you can afford that payment.
Yeah, because it is. You have to balance do you want to eat out 3 times a week? Or do you want to eat craft dinner?
Right.
And there's a middle ground.
And there is a middle ground, So I want to kind of go back to the renovations and pulling equity out. There are products on the market that are called HELOCs. A lot of people are familiar with it. It's a home equity line of credit.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So it's a HELOC. So there's different lenders that offer different styles of HELOCs. And what I like about this particular product, and it's not for everybody. It really is truly not for everybody. If you can't handle credit and access to credit, you should not have a HELOC. But what it does is it allows you, in this scenario that we're talking about, let's just say you say, all right, we don't need $400,000. We only need another 100, right? So I only need $300,000.
Right.
So you're going to pay, and there is costs involved in refinancing your home.
Always.
You have to pay for an appraisal. You have to pay new legal fees because you're re-registering a new mortgage on your property. So what I always try to tell people is, if you think this is a bit of a long-term home, and you you may have needs down the road. Let's just say, you are looking to buy rental properties. That's a great option, right? So take all the equity you can out of your property now. So in this scenario, we'll go back to that $400,000. But let's say you only need $300 for today's project, $100 plus the $200 that you currently owe. You're going to get a mortgage inside that HELOC for $300,000, and the additional $100,000 will be available to you in the form of a line of credit.
Right.
At prime plus a half, let's say.
Yeah.
So a lot
Pretty
cheaper
common.
than a line of credit or a loan or credit cards and that type of thing. So like what I do with mine is we actually buy properties with ours. So we actually
So
have
you're using the
ours
equity in your current
my
home,
current home
to then fund
other projects.
real estate investments.
Okay.
Okay.
Or
Brock touched on that when he was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's at, like, I think he said 150 doors or something. Yeah. And just bought his dream home finally.
Yeah.
Like he did that last.
Right.
Because it's getting paid for by
all the other
by the
properties.
portfolio. Yeah.
Right. And so, there's totally lots of things you can do. And so this is a good time to do it. If that's what you want to do, this is a good time to do it.
That's key, because some people are just, I think, bored and doing renovation and additions because they're sitting there staring at the same painted wall, this gray blue. I've been staring at it. Let's we got some spare time. Things aren't super busy. We're home a lot more. Let's tear it down.
Yep.
Let's get some money.
Yeah.
But flip side, I like the avenue that you put on it, that this home equity loan, that may be the route to what, now we're not like buying real estate right now. There's still gems out there that you can get as fixer-uppers. Great rental properties. I've been looking.
Yeah.
That aren't ballooned, but they need sweat equity. Right.
And that's the thing. You need to be able to do that yourself. If you're doing that type of flip,
you have to,
or a reno to rent, you need to be able to do that yourself. Because if you can find a gem and then you have to spend exponential amount of money to have a contractor do it, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? So my son and I may have said this last time I was on, he was able to purchase a property and it's a duplex. And so he's 19 and you know what? He's chomping at the bit to buy his next one.
I figured he would be.
Yeah, he's totally chomping at the bit. And we have some things coming down the pipe, which I'm not willing to share at this point in time, but it is going to help further that for both him and ourselves as well. And so, but perfect for him. It's a duplex. He still lives at home, right?
Brock, I mentioned it. He called it, what was it? It was like a beautiful addiction.
It can be.
Yeah. Especially if, like, I know Curtis is really good with numbers, really good, very logical.
Yeah.
And when the numbers add up, even with the decision to live there or not to live there came up, I was really, truly impressed.
Yeah, he's a sharp kid.
Yeah.
You're going to have him on the show, I think. Eh?
I've been waiting. He's a sharp kid, but he sounds like a chicken.
He's sitting in the car. We can pull him in now.
We could probably open the curtains and he's like, I'm not chicken. But no, I'd love to have him on because I'm, as you know, as we both gray and get older, and I'm always amazed that, we may have days where, because we were so late in our careers to go on our own, that we feel like the rookie, but we're really not.
Oh gosh,
But to see a true, honest rookie coming up, like you say, 19, 20 years old, and he's working as a mortgage agent. He works for me full time. And an income property investor. That's impressive. Yeah. That's too many years removed for us to do the math.
I wouldn't have even been thinking of that at 19 years old.
I wasn't for sure.
No, he's got his 30, his 10-year plan. Like, I'm going to be retired. I'm like,
I don't think I've ever made a 1-year plan. I'm just not that. I'm not that type of person.
Well, no, but you're always thinking. You're always moving.
Maybe I'm always thinking, but I'm not really thinking that I'm thinking about that.
Maybe.
But I'm very fly by karma and by instinct and quick decisions.
Really?
Yeah, not Natasha.
Honest to goodness, there's so many times that I think when you started LG Approved, I think we kind of talked about it, and then I went on holidays for 1 frickin' week, and the next thing or maybe 2, I don't know.
Not his Facebook pages, websites,
LG
advertise.
Approved, and it's like, what the heck, Dave? I'm like, Craig. I think I was your first member too.
You were, yeah. You and 401. There was the initial 18 that came on, and I did that because I think when I came up with the idea, I bounced it off you as I always do, and then I think I sent out an email to key businesses that I knew could hit all the criteria, and it wasn't really a salesman job.
Right.
It was an interest job. And we got like 25 responses. Yeah. 18 qualified.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And sent checks. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. It's a go. Yeah. And then you realized it was it was a go. And now it's really a go. You know, we're doing crazy stuff.
It's amazing. It's funny, how a vision can...
A need.
Yeah.
I think with me, and Natasha said it before, if you poke me and there's no reason for that poke to happen to anyone else or to me, it makes something. Yeah. I saw a hole in skill trades. We started the STEP initiative. Yep. Literally 2 days before Minister McNaughton did an announcement that they're improving Ontario skill trades, and there's trades incentives, training incentives, and the immigration incentives to fix the problem. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, if they're going to do it, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, we always joke that we're bugged because we're like, why did I think of it? And 2 days later, the minister's already on TV. Yeah. And it was just something I think we were trying to hire at the time. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Right. And I had a client that was at St. Lawrence College, and she was saying it was ridiculous. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I've just been poked. Yeah. And boom, it comes. But then McNaughton announced, and really I think the Ontario government has a handle on the skill trades aspects that, you know, I'm still going to do something I want to do in school. I want us to go talk to kids and what's the benefit, and look at what mortgage agents did to this kid. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And my son too, working for me, like, he's in a skilled trade. Yeah. He may not know it.
And I think so many people miss that mark, right? So many of these young kids, like, just, man, oh man, if there's very little schooling in that regard. There's lots of schooling. It's just they're not spending $30,000-$40,000.
Well, it goes back to that equity, right? Like, how much equity are you getting out of the investment? And, you know, university for me, I think it was 6 years at Ryerson to be a full-fledged architect, which I can't imagine the fees now, but back then would have been crazy. Yeah. But meanwhile, I got out with, I think it was a $20,000 BMO smart loan for school. Yeah. And, I mean, I finished 2 diplomas because I fast-tracked one. And yeah, I was right into a career. Exactly. And same with Jordan. It's the same way. But I think that's one of the things is you and I growing up, they're not so much anymore. Well, they're not in school anymore, so they're not having this issue. But you and I growing up, that whole fill out the questionnaire and it's going to tell you if you're a garbage man or if you're a professor. And there was a lot.
I think still.
I think they do it, but they do it a lot earlier. Is where's your target? Because they have to pick that. What is it? The general advanced path now, because it's like
I think it's college, university college, or life skills or something like that. Like, it's
life skills. That's the guy that burns the toast. I don't.
No, it's
home ec. That's our home ec.
Well, it's more of like, you know, learning basic math, not who cares about some of the other stuff, because not everybody is interested in that, right? And it's important. That's my whole world is trigonometry. Exactly, right? It's important. It's funny, I have a friend's son who is terrible in math. Terrible. I honestly, like, and I love him dearly, but he's terrible in math. And yet he wants to be an electrician. And I'm thinking, but he gets amps it.
And volts.
He gets it.
Well, and that's part of the problem, right? Part of the big problem for me, and this could be a whole nother topic, but the part of the problem with me is if the textbooks I used are the textbooks my son uses, that's a problem. Right. I didn't sit and play video games on PS4s and have the internet and Facebook and cell phones at my hand. So therefore, the textbook has to change. But flip side to that, if the curriculum is being passed, like I would dread to know the answer of when grade 12 general maths curriculum was created and revised. Because I bet you there's no revision date.
Probably not.
And that's a problem because these kids are learning way faster. Again, we have a 19-year-old that's got his income property and he's a mortgage agent.
Probably has
it's
more
insane.
money in his account than I do. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
but that's God knows what I was doing at 19. I guarantee it wasn't errands and waiting for my business partner to finish a podcast.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
I bet you probably couldn't even say on air what I was doing. It's probably something stupid.
I was in college. So
I was. I went.
And there's
a year
nothing
early.
wrong with college at all.
Well, and
College
this
or
whole skilled
university.
trade. So that's what I was getting is this whole skilled trades talk isn't even college.
Right.
It's apprenticeships.
Yes, exactly.
Like you've contributed. We have
Yeah.
the skilled trades bursary that goes to the colleges. That's for kids that
Yeah.
it helps them pay for tools. Like
Yeah.
if you want to be an electrician, there's a lot of stuff you got to buy.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's 4 years that you apprentice.
Yeah. Or at least I would
it's
think,
crazy.
depending, you have to get hours and stuff, right? Like all skilled
I got
trades.
zapped twice yesterday just from drywall from taking those outlets out.
See, we have a friend. Well, actually, same friend. His dad, the dad was doing some renos in the basement a couple of years ago, and my husband happened to be in the basement. I think, and he zapped himself.
Yeah, you haven't lived till you grabbed onto an outlet box. It's not bad.
I have lived quite well, thank you.
It's not bad. I've done it enough that I can scare Natasha when I do it now because she just assumes I've done it.
Okay.
And I know what it looks like and I know how it feels. And I'll just be like, "Ugh."
Disclaimer: don't do that at home.
Yeah,
We do not
hire
advise.
a professional.
Yes, hire an approved professional.
Yeah. Sweat equity is shocking. But no, the apprenticeships are the key, and I think our initiative will be to go into schools and say that's an electrician.
Yeah.
And you saw him drive up in a big Super Duty. That's his. He lives in Bridlewood. He's got a nice house. He's got a family of 4, and they're all happy and healthy and taken care of.
Yeah.
He didn't go to university. He's got no debt.
And that's the thing, Curtis, and I talk about Curtis a lot because he has a lot of strong views on things,
He does. He's amazing. And I'm the podcast is probably going to have nothing to do with mortgages.
Yeah, probably not.
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be one of our good ones.
But he talks about it and he says, Mom, I feel like I need to go to college, because he says, because people think I'm stupid. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Who thinks you're stupid? Because I know that all of our friends and all the people that I post you got a house, or
I talk about them all the
your
time.
Mortgage agent's license. Everybody's like, wow, that kid is sharp. He's going place. I had someone call me, actually a friend of his father, who actually they talk quite a bit, and he said that kid is going places, and I'm like, wow, and he doesn't, and I'm again. For all those parents out there who think I'm advocating for not getting a higher education,
no,
I'm not.
It's not for everybody. Is what you're saying.
It's not for everybody. And I don't know how many kids when my oldest son was going away to college, and we were interviewing different colleges, and the student advisors or whatever take them around to show them the school. Every single school we went to, every single person that was taking us on a tour had gone to university and come back to college to actually get a job.
Well, and there's difference with hands-on. Like I did 2 years of, I would call it academic college for architecture.
Yeah.
But then I was like, the third year was more designing 3-dimensionals, and it wasn't around when I was around. Like it was really cusp,
Okay.
3-dimensional stuff, and I was like, who the hell wants that? Like, what builder wants that? That was my mentality. They were all like, ooh, clients are going to want to see this fancy 3D. And I was like, I want to work for the builders. They're the ones bringing you clients.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when my brain started going business. But what I did then was, but if I'm going to talk like a builder, I got to be like a builder. So I switched to construction engineering technology, which more hands-on. They were crushing concrete, bending steel, overloading steel to see when it broke or flexed.
I can't imagine that having any fun with that.
But it was more what avenue I wanted to go and have that understanding.
Yeah.
So that's one avenue of college. It's great. University, I've got friends my age that are still doing university degrees. Like they're masters of this and this and this. Mm-hmm. They just love education.
And nothing wrong with that.
No, and they're making their money. They're not in debt. They're making money. Their college or their university is paid for. But then I've got the skilled trades guys that, like, we can't go on forever without a plumber.
Right. Or an electrician.
We all use the washroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We could live with candles without electricians, maybe.
You know,
it's the heating people that we can't live without.
But there's definitely a need for skilled trades. And
it's dying. 401 Electric, these guys I've been watching, so they tried a radio campaign. They're doing all kinds of stuff. A desperate cry to the point that James, who works with 401 now, we've been talking, and they're looking as far as St. Lucia.
To find?
So St. Lucia trains their skill trades to like Europe's standards, which is really, really high. So they're coming very highly educated and highly trained out of St. Lucia.
Can I go to St. Lucia?
I think we should go interview.
Yeah. Hey, I'm there. Can I be your co-host?
We're the dumb Canadians. But there's all kinds, and that's where Minister McNaughton has now went and said, we'll pay for you to come here. And like maybe the quality of life is better, but yet their training is better. Mm-hmm. So it's a good fair swap. Yeah. But there's all kinds of little regions popping up that are they're refocusing their whole culture to be able to go to Europe, Canada, or US as a skilled trade.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's desperate.
Shortage.
Oh, it's I don't know. Like even here, we've been trying to hire for 2 years, not happening. Mm-hmm. Everyone's trying to hire. Tim Hortons is trying to hire. It's just, I think there's a lack of want to work, or maybe the nice part of the pandemic will be that people have learned that kind of like that Matrix thing where you can break the mold. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not happy being a bank teller and you didn't know for years on end that you were unhappy. Mm-hmm. And now you're like, oh, why did I wait so long to become a mortgage agent? Yeah. I've heard the story 100 times and I was the same way. Maybe I sat 15 years in a job. Yeah. I was miserable. Yeah. But maybe this pandemic will teach people that break the mold. They're starting to bake cakes while they're working from home,
right?
And
they love it and
are amazing.
Yeah, the other thing is I've noticed in the healthcare industry, a lot of nurses and PSWs and RPNs and those types of things are leaving their professions, and that's total burnout. Right. Yeah. And I
burnout and working conditions. I think we're finding a lot
Definitely.
One of the big avenues that I've said, not to cut you off, but one of the big avenues was we learned right when Ford came in that LTC was messed up.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Of course, he blamed the last person. That's fine. It's been broken for years. Yeah. We've been taking our parents and putting them in conditions we wouldn't live in.
Right. Yeah.
But we don't want to take care of them.
No.
Now we're finding holes in the hospital. Like the ICU capacities and stuff is not a problem because of COVID. It's been a problem. Mm-hmm. Every 4 years we hear that they're going to promise to improve and they never do.
Hallway medicine.
So just to say there, as much as it's burnout and these people are leaving, it was pre-existing conditions. We're talking about nurses that may have been there 30 years and they're saying, oh, this is the icing on the cake.
Right. And so I have this client who is looking, funny enough, doing a construction mortgage. And she was working in a long-term care setting. And I think she's an RPM. Yeah. I didn't think she was a nurse, but anyway, I'm not 100% certain. And she is now working in a factory. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. And probably less money. Yeah. But for her own mental health and the
maybe not 12-hour days, maybe steady enough pay. Like there's all kinds of situations that people have to realize that it could just be a stress level.
And that's exactly what she said. She said, I needed to do this for my family. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to maintain my family life and my mental capacity and stability, I had to do it, and more people are doing that. And it's just
my only hope is more and more people do it. I hope they realize that. I think the only outcome that I can predict for this whole pandemic thing is we're going to prove small business are the backbone. 100%. Yeah. Even with home equity, we've got an opportunity where we're set up to move forward strong. Mm-hmm. Our houses are worth more. Our cars are worth more. Mm-hmm. We're learning to live more on a budget. We're working less and we're enjoying together more. Right. Welcome to entrepreneurship. Yeah. Everyone is getting a soft look at what it's like to start a business out of your home, working remotely. Yeah. We both did it. We both, I did 3 years, I think, out of my house.
5?
I think you were a few after me. I think a year or two after me.
Yeah, I think I did 5.
Right. But they're getting a dose of that world. And it is freer. You can go walk your dog. You can go see your kid play soccer. You can take up soccer. You can go to the gym. You can choose to have a podcast. You can go out for coffee with those people. But you're contributing in a way that's direct to your community.
Yeah.
You know, we give X number of dollars back to the community, and it literally is here. You know, I'm not working for a company that's giving it to a company that
Some
hedge
major
funds in
conglomerate.
Malaysia or
Yeah.
something. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. So my biggest one this year was I sponsored 2 Kings players this year.
Okay.
And a large family where they all play hockey. And every time I talk to Sam, I'm like, God help you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I hope you told them all nobody is being a goalie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we sponsored 2 of the kids. And that's direct community support because we're a small business.
Yeah.
I didn't have that avenue to do it when I was working for the person.
No, not at all.
Or-
So many opportunities.
Yeah.
But
People need to see they're getting that chance to
Right.
kind of soft be it without risk.
Right.
The risk is the fun part.
For some people.
It's for me.
Yeah.
For Curtis, guaranteed
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The kid's getting a high off risk. I know he is.
And you know the thing is that I never took risks. Not the same way. Now that
I think he called me crazy a lot every time I pitched one.
probably. But you know what? I never. And now the risks that I had. Again, I'll speak to this on another podcast. But we're in the process of doing some pretty cool stuff.
Right.
And I had a friend of mine say to me, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, why? She goes, for not being afraid. And I was like,
We're petrified.
oh, no. I was like,
I'm petrified on every decision I make.
I'm like, should I? Afterwards, I got off the phone and I'm like, should I be afraid? Like,
So you don't get afraid of these jumps, or do you just highly research and then you're comfortable?
they're risks, but they're calculated risks.
Okay, see, mine are.
So I make the decisions and the choices and the risks that I have taken have been calculated, very calculated, and it's like, but being a self-employed individual has allowed me to have those risks, right? Has broadened my mind, has taken me out of the box, this little box. I'm no longer in a box, and it's very freeing. And, you know, there's things that we've done that I'm like, wow, 10 years ago, I never
Couldn't
would
have done
that.
it. Couldn't have.
No,
Yeah.
I just, I
You
wouldn't
could have thought of it.
I never would have had
You
the mental
could have done
capacity.
it.
No, I wouldn't have even thought of it. Like, I really wouldn't have even had the mental. I was in the box of my employment, right? This is what you do. This
The
is
Truman
where you
Show.
go.
You
Yeah,
just,
like,
that same thing every day.
you know, and and since I've got broken out of that box just gets bigger and bigger. And again, there's risks, and I'm not naive to the fact that there are risks. I dream about it. Like, I had a dream about it last night, and I woke up this morning thinking, wow, not only was the dream I had about the new project we have on the go, but it was like 3 times the size of the project. And I thought, holy crap, what am I doing? But thankfully, the box is just a little bigger. You know?
I love that. I love that because sometimes, you know, that we all process different. I'm very, I'm logical, but I'm quick.
Yes.
I'm very opportunistic.
Right.
But still logical because I'm thinking I've probably already thought of doing it once or twice before.
Yeah.
And now I'm just seeing it as this is the time if
Yeah.
somebody's bringing it up to me. And then there's that long-term thinking with you. But I always find it interesting when you're talking about a project that you're saying is a calculated risk and you're comfortable.
Yeah.
But yet your dream's telling you about 1-3 times bigger.
Right.
I always say that's the way of your brain telling you that this is nothing.
Right. Exactly.
You could go bigger.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and 100%. Last night at the dinner table, I made a comment about something to do with this project. And the kids were like, and my husband were like, why would you do that? And I said, because there's opportunity there. Oh. You know, I think they all discounted me, but trust me, when I put my mind to it, if I think that's the right thing to do, and we've got to get stage 1 done, and then stage 2 will happen. But yeah, it's totally doable.
See, I texted Marissa yesterday and said it'll be a little dirty when you get home. That's how much notice and planning and.
Yeah, you see,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I could like travel.
If I gave you the hammer, you could have put a hole in your wall.
Oh, if you gave me a hammer, I would have put a hole in your wall.
Well, that's what I mean. Nat, she's like she was getting a crowbar into the drywall and she was like trying to get it out. And I just walked up with the hammer and I went bam, 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 and caught a hole with the hammer.
Yeah.
I was like, honey, like,
yeah.
And then she was trying to use scissors to cut plastic. You know how the protective
the
sheet
barrier,
that folds in half?
Yeah.
Right? Well, we needed a small piece for the bottom because we have 9-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
Way to go, Home Depot. We sell 8-foot plastic only. So it was a foot off the ground. Drywall dust. I want it all the way down.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, honey, just drag the knife across the floor. And she said, well, scratch.
We're getting new flooring.
Yeah, we're ripping it up. Like, that's part 2.
Yeah.
Once she gets the drywall dust up, like, she's doing it today. She's ripping up all the hardwood.
Okay.
Cut it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You're tearing it up.
Yeah.
And then under that, it's subfloor.
Yeah.
Tear it up.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
But yeah, not thinking.
You tend to think big, fast.
Yeah.
And I tend,
Stupidly sometimes.
No, and I tend to think small, but bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like
I think you're underselling that. So the reason I talk to you when we make these business decisions, is it more humbling, settling? Like I already know what I'm going to do when I ask anyone for their opinion.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I respect opinions, but I am 99.9% in my head. And I think you know that now from all the dealings is, well, you're going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
But here's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
That 2 cents is worth more than the 98 cents that I have already.
Well, it's just a different perspective, right?
It is. Because you might be the outsider, the crazy one, the one that hasn't thought of all the avenues.
Yeah.
You need that. I got 3 or 4 people that I ask every time now, and it's you have to.
So I'm kind of like the logic behind some of this stuff, right? So you've had Darren Javal on your show before, and Darren is a lot like you in the big thinking and constantly thinking.
His assistant Sarah,
yes,
thought she was in the Twilight Zone in our first meeting.
Right.
Because we were like finishing each other's sentences. We were going, it was the same as us. I think we blew 20 minutes before we started talking.
Right.
Natasha's on her phone scrolling Facebook because she
Right.
knows this is done. And Sarah's thinking there, am I supposed to be taking notes?
Well, so an assistant prior to Sarah, I don't remember, because he blows through them because he's going so fast.
Yeah.
Like this guy goes 500 miles a minute, right? And I told her one day, I said, okay, I'm going to tell you this, and you need to, because they're young, right? So you need to do this with very much respect because he is your boss. But I said, if you hear him on the phone talking to me, and he is talking, and we are having a conversation about A, and
he goes
2
to B.
minutes later, he's telling someone else almost the exact opposite of what we have just discussed. Please, in the most respect, tell him no. I said, it's so frustrating because sometimes we'll discuss something and I'll go, yep, no problem, I'll do that. And all of a sudden, because I work a lot with him on projects as well, all of a sudden, next thing I know, he's done it. Yeah. And I'm like, Darren, you need to stop doing that. I usually just pause, and I've had conversations with other colleagues of his, like just people who work with him on projects, and they say the same thing. And it's like, oh my gosh, very much like you.
Yeah, it's cool because, I mean, Brock Frost and Darren and I are all alike in that sense. And Brock was saying it was like a bromance. We'd never met before the podcast. So we spent 45 minutes before.
Yeah, talking.
As if we were just reconnecting after college.
Yeah.
And then Darren, we did, his podcast drops next Friday. And we did the talk. And I don't think we stayed on topic.
No.
And I think we wormholed smartly. Right. But yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, he's very much a lot like you. And it's funny, and the same thing with him. He'll go, and I'll say, okay, what about this? Oh,
so what you're saying is most of these high-strung, chaotic men need an El Presidente.
Absolutely.
But Darren's one of those, like he even said to me, like we're talking with him because again, I'm young and stupid. We haven't built a portfolio whatsoever. Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I think he stopped in, he was doing drive tests and he just popped in.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen him.
Because he's next door.
Yeah. So he just popped in and we sat and we chatted for I don't know, 20, 30 minutes while the kid was driving around.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want you as a client. I'm like, oh, good. Nobody ever has. And I don't have diddly. Well, set up a meeting. And we went from there. Yeah. And now they're waiting on me to get, because you went through, paperwork that I don't.
Now you know how we feel about filling out your paperwork. Come on, Dave, get your paperwork done.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, well, now that it's not even paperwork. He wants us to pull information.
Yeah,
and I'm horrible for that, because even tax time, I find it as a backwards motion. Like, why do I have to pull 09 and 010 and 011? You know what I mean? Like, why? I'm here. Look at my bank account.
Yeah.
And let's go from there.
I know.
But so anyway, Sarah is all over me for all this stuff so that we can have a follow. Yeah, but anyway, my point was Darren was getting to the point. He was like, so I was asking him questions because I'm really interested in stocks. And he's like, well, we'll have to take a very calculated approach because you're that type that's going to be very aggressive. And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with that. If I'm making money, you're making money, right? I agree, he says. But I'm nervous. And I'm like, now that I'm learning stuff, yeah, I'm nervous too. Because I think...
You know what? Don't be. It's long-term, right? I mean, it's long-term. And I'm not an investment advisor. I did mortgages, or I did, mutual funds and investments when I worked at a bank. But that's many years ago. And, Darren is my financial advisor as well.
Yeah, he's great.
And he is... The markets are down right now. They're still up, but they're down. Now's the time to buy. Like Curtis, even last night, Curtis is like, markets are down this much. Mom, it's the time to buy. I got to go buy some more stuff. And
TJ texts me all the time. He's, he texted me something the other night, and he was like, oh, buy this. Or if you're still thinking about it, buy this. It's down XXX. He sent me the screenshots and everything else. And I said, no, I'm going to invest in my property. I'm going to invest in what I know. And we're going to start the renovation. So I'm going to just, we put all of our money that we had to kind of play with into that.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's fine. I'll message you for my private jet when it pays out. And that's you're missing a big boat. Are you? Maybe not. Don't know. But
and the thing is,
this has been his COVID hobby.
Yeah.
That's business now.
Yeah.
He's right into it, and he's just, yeah.
Curtis bought Bitcoin, and he'll tell you that story, or he might not, but he timed the markets well.
Yeah.
Could he have done better? Sure, but that's where he got his down payment for his house.
Yeah.
And it's, again, you have to be willing to lose that money, right? It wasn't a whole
somebody told me that it's not even losing money. It's even if you buy a house, right? Would you sell it at a loss?
Right.
No.
Right.
That's suicide.
Right.
So just don't, it can be in a loss,
well,
right? Like we could owe more on our house than it's worth. That's happened in history.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you're going to sell.
The thing is that, right, you have to be, it's money you can't need, I guess, if that's the way, right? So people who are older that are looking at retirement, they don't want to take those high risks, because if I can't time the markets perfectly, which nobody ever can, I could potentially lose money. So if I have $100,000 in my investment and I need the money now and it tanks, and it's at 80, I've lost that money. It's loss. But it's only on paper until you need it.
Yeah,
right?
Darren said it. I'm sure it's one of his, I don't know if it was just a friendly gesture or something else, but I'll take it out of how he exactly said it. But he said it's something along the lines that, I think I was asking him how he knows if he does a good job. Is it by all the money, like, off the stocks and stuff? And he's like, no, it's all about at the end of the day. Like, what's your exit day for retirement? And are you set for that retirement day?
Right.
And I was really impressed by that statement.
Yeah.
He could make you a billionaire this year, right?
But
the stocks next year could all crash. He's shooting for the 55, 65, whatever the heck your number is.
Exactly.
Because I think he asked what my number was.
Yeah.
And for me, it's 5 years. I'm done.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You better
that's
start saving.
I don't think that's where, as much as we say I'm irrational or quick thinking, I don't think it's about numbers. I think it's just like you're not going to eat out 20 times a week. You're gonna pack a lunch.
Well,
You're gonna have your home paid off. You're like if your home's paid off, you're
passive income too, right? It's having multiple streams, and that's kind of one of the things that we always look at is okay.
You're good at that. You guys
got my
are
mortgage business. I've got my investments. I've got this, and I've got that. What are my multiple streams? Because I want to continue to live the life I've lived. Right?
See, I can see me going. I dread the words, but I mean, I could see me end up stronger in the advocacy or political.
Yeah.
I could see me
I can see that.
not working,
Yeah.
but working with a cause. I
Right.
mean, I think again, one of the things we need to learn is there's avenues for success in the current state of affairs where you're not a sellout and you stand for something and you hold your ground.
Right.
We're seeing that in politicians now that are, sadly being pushed out of party or not.
Because they're standing their ground.
Well, that's if I voted for Tina,
Yeah.
I want Tina to be Tina.
Yeah. And
I don't care about the clown at the top.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care about the puppet master.
Yeah.
I want Tina to be Tina. Maybe it's we like teal cups. I don't want to see Tina drinking a red cup because she's liberal. I don't want her to drink a solid blue cup because she's PC or orange for NDP or green or whatever.
Yeah.
I like teal.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's one of the things that friends have commented, and there's a lot of my friends that I think should do the same and jump in that ship, because we have a generation that's coming into that comfort zone, that 45 to 55, right? Where our careers are, we're able to exit, we're able to maybe look at something different, and municipal or provincial or federal government is that route where we've never changed our character. And I think we need that. And I have a great friend of mine, Jonathan. We disagree on everything.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
But we're friends.
That's awesome.
Oh, we literally could have a full out yelling argument about politics here.
Yeah.
And go have a beer.
Nice.
It doesn't matter. I know he's white and I'm black. Orange and red. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We know it going into the conversation. Right. You and I do too. We can disagree. It doesn't matter.
Right. And that's important. And I think that, standing your ground but at the same time, you also have to see other perspectives, right? So like this whole COVID stuff. I mean, I see both sides to a lot of different things.
I think I said to you when you
right?
came in was I'm not saying it's not real.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it is real. It is people
are
dying,
sick. People are dying,
but to what level?
Right.
Yeah.
And so.
Or
and
what's in my mind? What's the calculated? Where's the normality?
And that's it, right? There's we went away. I went away with some girlfriends in November. We went to Dominican, and it was fabulous. And it was kind of sort of pre-Omicron. And that
does it, folks. Tina has talked about traveling in her podcast.
Well, of course. That's why I work. I've told you that, many times. That's why I tell everybody.
Dave hasn't traveled.
I went to the Dominican with some girlfriends, and some people said, were you not afraid? I said, it was a calculated risk. Of course it was a calculated risk. And I got COVID at home. So whatever.
Oh, I tell people all the time. There's, glad we're now talking about it. Before I did the podcast, I'm like, we're not going to talk about this stupid thing because it's going to go away. It's not going away. This is the new normal. It's going to be around. I'm convinced this is the new cold. Yeah, the masks. I mean, Asia and farther reaches of Germany, they've been wearing masks for years.
Right.
They just don't want colds. I haven't had a cold in 3 years.
Yeah, I have a cold now, but that's a
that's
a COVID cold.
I haven't had a cold in 3 years. I will gladly wear this stupid thing on my face, which I hate. It sucks with a big face. It sucks with a beard. It slips all the time, and I run hot all the time. So it's
I'm menopausal. Just saying.
I think I am too. That's we call it menopause.
Menopause.
That's what Nat and I joke all the time. It's menopause. We don't know who's making whose hands sweaty when we're holding, but somebody is. But that stuff is always going to be around. But you could go to the Dominican. And I wish if we pre-planned this, I would have had the bloody numbers. And I'll tell you the numbers later, hopefully share it in the podcast. But maybe the Dominican has a lower case rate and a lower death rate and a lower contracting rate than we do. Well, guess what? That it's not a calculated risk. You're going somewhere safer. I went to Edmonton because I was safer in my mind.
Right.
We went to test a way of life that could be a soon possibility.
Right.
A lot of people are flocking to Texas.
I have a friend in Arizona right now.
Yeah.
They bought a bus and transformed it into a schoolie, they call it.
Yeah.
Right. So now she has a bed and a
Yeah.
kitchen and all.
Oh,
that.
so it's a tiny house on wheels.
A tiny home on wheels, whatever. Yeah. And so anyway, the Friday before Christmas, like the week before Christmas, they hit the border and they've been in, they took their time, went down, they're in Arizona. They did a bit of Northern California or wherever California is in that Arizona area, came back into Arizona. She's been there a week. She's going to stay in Arizona for another, till the end of this week.
That's another one of the safe states, another one of the states that are doing things different.
Yeah, and they're
Texas,
out in the
Florida.
middle of nowhere where she is, and then she's going to fly home, and the friend she went with is going to keep the bus down there, and he's going to travel around, and it's great, it's fabulous. I'm like, you should just retire now. You don't have any need to work anymore.
We told people it was right on the cusp of this Omicron wave, but I mean, we left Ontario. We drove all the way out to Edmonton.
Yeah,
and we were in the West Edmonton Mall.
And just saying you were crazy.
Yeah.
I thought you were crazy.
Did you?
Oh, for sure I thought you were crazy.
Why?
Because you drove like a madman, just to get to the West Edmonton Mall, which
we saw a lot of stuff we wanted to see, but yeah.
What? When you were flying by at 120 and then you drove
So the back was supposed to be slower.
You were
but
nuts.
I drink like a gallon of water a day. Well, you're not going to do that if you're stuck in a car for 13 hours.
Right.
So we drove out to Edmonton. I think we got there in 3.5 days.
Madman. Yeah, mad people.
And we spent 2 days in Edmonton.
Right.
But then we were going to take a different route and slower on the way back. I dehydrated my kidney or my liver, and I thought I had appendicitis. Oh. And I'm like, I cannot not be in Ontario. Oh. I was in pain.
Oh, yeah, I knew you took an extra day in Winnipeg, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, because I couldn't even
I
couldn't sit.
Right.
I couldn't sit up. I was just done. So it turned out I was dehydrated. Oh. And my body was saying no. Like the most excruciating pain I've ever been in.
Wow.
And I was Natasha had to get to Ontario.
Yeah.
And so did I.
Yeah.
I felt better when I got back. I took 2 days and I've never went to a doctor. But I started drinking and cranberry juice and rehydrating, and I'm fine. But it was bad. Wow. So we rushed back.
Okay.
So,
but I did think you were nuts.
Yeah, we were. But we got to West Edmonton Mall, and it was like a Christmas movie shopping mayhem. 100,000 people, arm to arm, no masks.
But they
and
also quickly went down. No, they quickly went down.
Yeah, no. But that was that was Omicron starting, and at the time, Alberta only had 60% vaccinated.
Right.
And we're taking the Florida approach. Saskatchewan and Alberta, I think, have taken a different approach, which I'm pro. Florida, everyone shunned them at the start of this thing, and they're the best. Like their death rate's the lowest.
Wow.
They're the freest. They're wide open. And he still talks saying, I will not shut businesses down.
Right.
That's the governor of Florida saying, no. Meanwhile, we're doing it here. I know. It's again, you can argue, I think, to and fro.
Absolutely.
Do I think anyone at the top knows what they're doing? No. 100%. And you know this, you can back it up. I've been asked a few times, would you take a spot? 100% right now. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I want to know who's pressuring, because when he came out we'll close on this. When he came out the last announcement on last Tuesday, when he announced the lockdowns, anyone who paid attention, I felt like I was watching a bad, dramatic Wizard of Oz. Ford had tears in his eyes. I don't know if it was stress or if it was tears. They were 22 minutes late to come out to something that he says took 30 seconds to decide,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But it was an all-day cabinet meeting. So it was decided.
Yeah.
Why was he late? And the Minister of Health had the same kind of bad look.
Yeah.
Dr. Moore did not. He smirked at the school thing. There was a lot of tells. But who was behind the curtain that stressed Ford out?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why I say the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Is Trudeau telling him? Is the science table telling him? Or was it dramatics? Something wasn't right with Premier Ford that day.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I know he didn't want to lock down.
No, he did not.
Well, if he didn't, then why did he?
Who's
behind the curtain?
Agreed.
The teachers union, the hospital unions, we know they were a factor. Teachers unions will never, I mean, they're historically known to be liberal.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not getting favors from them.
Right.
So it's curious, but I do watch and sympathetic to him. I challenge everyone. Go back and look at the video feed. It makes you think.
Right.
It was very weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it just leads me to that, not conspiracy theory, but in my own mind, that was not him.
Right.
You know, if you and I come out and don't sound like we sound,
Yeah.
something's up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe you just stubbed your big toe on the way in. Maybe you didn't. Maybe someone stepped on your toe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Maybe somebody's got a knife in your back.
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
I would not want to be a politician. Don't get me wrong, because
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is I would.
I would not. I would not, because
You never
can't
get to
do
hit it.
anything right.
No.
You know, you'll be okay with these ones. You'll be, you know, and that is a whole other podcast. It really.
But does it
is.
not
But
make you think that would be like knowing the job?
see the thing for me personally is that I can see both sides, right?
Yeah.
You can make a really good argument against something, and
Yeah.
I'll go, yeah. And then, you know, this person can make a really good argument for it, and I'll go, yeah. You know,
One of the greatest things is when people argue with me on some of my comments, and they're like, "Oh, you're an anti-vaxxer."
yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, first off, that's
I'm
a question
vaccinated.
not supposed
Yeah.
to ask of anyone
Exactly.
in humanity
Yeah.
with your whole new vaccination gen, but I'm vaccinated."
Yeah. You're not an
And they're like,
anti-vaxxer.
"What?"
'Cause
And I was like, "Oh," and I shut my salon down
Yeah.
and complied. I let staff on layoff
Yeah.
and I complied. I locked my door and I complied. I
Yeah.
stayed home. I didn't see my mom. I didn't see my grandmother.
Yeah.
But
That's right. That's right. Just because you comply does not mean
Yeah.
you agree with
yeah,
everything.
exactly, 80%.
Yeah.
I'm 80% compliant.
Yeah.
I just question things
Right.
that make people think. I told you before we came on the air, Roger Haley, Front of Young Mayor, was on.
Yes.
And he was just sympathetic to the fact that the Legion was closed again. And he made a valid point that I didn't even, you know, the Legions, everyone's vaccinated. They were checking. He feels safer there. He personally said he felt, and he said it, these are my thoughts, not he did the whole, we find we have to do disclosures when we talk too much. I do
I'm
them
not
all the time.
township. This is my personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one I copy and paste to Facebook now. But anyway, but he says, I don't feel safe walking into Walmart because you're bumping into people that you have no clue of their health status.
The this will keep going. The problem is that what danger is an unvaccinated person to you?
Yeah.
There's
Nobody
no
knows.
danger to you because you are as infectious to me vaccinated.
And we're seeing that in the numbers now.
That's the point for me.
80% vaccinated are the
vaccinated
cases.
or unvaccinated. Yes, you know, I can see the point of the unvaccinated people are, you know, maybe at greater risk for having severe health issues due to getting COVID, but most of those have underlying health conditions anyway, right? So you take a look at someone who is, you know, and that's the bigger issue, right? Now we're talking about not COVID. Why are you not taking better care of your health overall? Because and I'm not saying that people who are extremely healthy
you're doing
and
really good.
Unvaccinated are not still at risk for getting severe outcome to COVID, but they are going to have a less of an outcome, as far as I can see. But again, I'm not a scientist. I don't research.
Yeah, none of us are, and that's where I feel like I'm a bit of a guinea pig because I want to try to test, and not stupidly risk test. I just like hearing the facts
Yeah.
and then looking to see if those facts are legit.
So
and the
in my
biggest one now
family-
is that obesity, right? Like we've got our gyms now closed for the third round, but
Right.
apparently obesity is a target of COVID.
Well,
And
there
I'm
you
like,
go.
pony up, boys.
It-
I'm the poster child for that. I need to see if this is true.
Okay, so the thing is that in my household, we believe all 5 of us have had COVID.
Yes.
Very recently, and one in our family is not vaccinated, and that person came through. One of my kids, I don't 100% know if he got it. I'm making the assumptions he just didn't have any symptoms. One of the kids got it. All of us. One basically a day or two, and he was fine. And the unvaccinated person got a little bit of a cold like the rest of us and was tired. That was his biggest complaint. And so he kind of looks at his father and I and goes, you two are fully vaccinated, and you have you're worse
I asked you
than
when you
I
came
have.
in.
Yeah,
It had to create a world war.
You're worse than I am, and I just want to prove. Yep, you're very physically fit.
Yeah.
You eat
Young.
very young. You eat extremely well. You take multivitamins. You take every vitamin under the sun. You drink your homemade kombucha. Like, you don't drink. You don't smoke. Well,
You
maybe
have a high immune system.
You better get better. You better get more healthy, Mom.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I'm like,
Maybe you do.
I'm also in my 50s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Metabolism.
everything.
When it comes,
right?
young lad.
Everything goes against you as you get older. So yes.
Was his severity was everyone on par on severity?
Pretty much.
Because that's the big thing that one of the big
Definitely, I think I got it the worst, to be honest with you.
One of the big doctors that is out speaking, and we spoke about it with the Joe Rogan podcast, and we've shared them. He spoke that the severity of this, it is a common cold, but he also spoke that the testing is based on round 1 of the virus,
right?
And really, it's just picking up. And I'm not a doctor by any means, but he said it was picking up traces of like the bad flus and the bad colds. So you could have just had the cold.
Yeah.
And now, unless you lost taste, because that's I think that's the only one that's not common cold related. And my brother, he didn't get the test, but he lost his taste. So he knew he just stayed isolated. He stays isolated anyway. 2
in the family did the PCR tests positive.
Yeah.
One.
Those are the ones they're saying are the issue right now.
The one did. 3 of us did antigen and the rapid antigen. One came back positive. The other 2 of us came back negative. But I was.
But
the
we're still sick
of all of them.
And did you came back negative?
I came back negative, but I'm wondering if it was early enough.
I still say it's common cold.
You
I mean,
know
that's me.
And you know what? And I'm not discounting the fact. Yeah. And I will go with that. I've had COVID 100%. We did our quarantine. We did all the things.
Did you do the 14 or the 5?
No, I did I actually ended up doing 10.
Okay.
Because the last person started to feel sick. So
and that's later. What they're. I mean, there's so much they're not telling us for positive reasons.
Yeah.
Or sorry, for positive reinforcement of it is. Yeah, you can't keep getting re-exposed and think your quarantine's over.
Right.
It's that last person in your household.
Right. So we did.
You have to clean at the same date.
Yeah, we did. Friday we should have been out, and we literally.
People that think they can get out of quarantine 2 days before their spouse, but they go to bed together every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was.
We did the full. We did the full, probably 11, 12 days, to be honest with you. And thankfully we were able to do that. I worked from home. My one son got caught in New Brunswick because he got it. He tested while he was there, so had to cancel flights and da. But anyway, so we're good. But
everyone's healthy again. Everyone's good.
Again, the cold you can hear is the extent of it.
Yeah, my brother, he said it was like a bad sinus cold, but he said it kind of turned into one after. Mm-hmm. So it kind of like, how it's like that nagging cold. Yeah. It just comes around. But I don't know. I hope this is not an every winter thing. And I have a feeling it is.
Oh, I think we will have it every year. I think
it's going to be in every. It's like the negative. The cold has gotten smarter.
You know what? So we just wear masks. Yeah. We just whatever. Like
wash our hands like we were supposed to.
We take better precautions, but anyway. that's another story. Okay.
It is.
I gotta
No,
go.
we're good. I appreciate
I
you
gotta
coming
I
in.
gotta go to work.
What's that? I gotta go and see if my floor's missing.
Actually, this is the first day I've been in the office because we had a pre-Christmas COVID scare. So I went in one day.
You and every other person in Ontario.
Right? So like the week before Christmas, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I went in for a day and then I haven't been back. So yeah, I need to go to my office and see if it's still standing.
I'm sure it's good. I haven't been through Kempville, so I haven't.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you need to come see my new office.
Yeah. I'm due for an oil change, so I should.
Yeah, you should.
I need somewhere to crash for 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll come. I'll bring the equipment. I'll get Curdy right there.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Do a remote one.
Yeah.
Thank you again
Thanks,
for coming
Steve.
on.
So much fun.
And stay tuned, people. To touch base with and find out more from Tina Murray of Dominion Lending Centers, contact 613-349-7359 and email her at tina@I'veGotAMortgageForThat.com.